think one of the most important things that we can be talking about right now is jobs. So many people are without work. I know that unemployment nightmare with getting checks and stuff is there. There are some employers out there hiring, but most importantly, we really want to take your resume and your LinkedIn profile and really optimize that today and show you where the jobs are so you can get some of those jobs. And this stuff's so good not only for today, but it's also once this virus passes, you'll be amazed at how many more interviews and stuff like that you get. Uh, I am president of Orlando Jobs. We've been in Orlando Jobs has been around for 15 years now in Central Florida, and we just cater to Central Florida. And we've met so many of the great employers and so forth. And the information I'm bringing you today is on the job training because we've learned from employers and job seekers the frustrations and everything else, and that's what we're going to try to get going. So let's get rocking and rolling. If Joey, if you could share my screen there, and then what we will do is we'll get going. But you know the whole thing with the job search is, we you guys deserve great jobs, and the way you get a great job is to understand the key to getting it, and that's really what I want to do today. Um, we're going to learn a lot of different things, but we're going to talk a little bit about some of the companies that are hiring right now. We're going to go over the resume. We're going to do a resume remake. We're going to do a LinkedIn profile remake, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the robots. And once we get into all this stuff, you'll kind of get a whole idea. We're recording this thing so you can go back and watch it as well. And at the end, there's some contact information. I certainly can send this to you as well. So we just got done doing a survey of 81 Central Florida employers, and some of the results, these are just real quick results, but about 30% of the 81 are hiring right now, and some aren't. But everybody, uh, all the employers, something's happened. They've either cut jobs, reduced hours, they've done hiring freezes, they've furloughed, some of them have done nothing, just sitting there waiting. All the employers that we talked to for the survey all said the same thing. Hey, you know what? If things can just get back to normal, we're going to bring back the people that we've had to either furlough, lay off, or leave. Um, this work from home, I bring this slide up because I think after COVID leaves, I think there's going to be a lot more work at home jobs created. And if you look at this, 30% are considering it. 10% or almost 10% are thinking, yeah, we need to develop a strategy. And quite a few of the employers already were working from home anyway. But HR people have a lot to deal with. And, I talk about this because the opportunity for a job seeker as COVID gets out of the system and you can get your jobs and stuff like that. But you can clearly see there's lots of angst amongst HR people of how to bring the work back. If people are making with the federal unemployment and local, will they automatically leave that and go back to work right away? Will people move? Will people's situations change? Will these employees come back? So all those things are to be taken into consideration, and I think it's going to create a lot of job opportunities, and that's what we really want to talk about today. So um, let's get rocking and rolling. We're going to start with the resume, and the resume to me is the most important fundamental thing you can possibly do in your job search. And the resume is, as we go through this thing, you're going to be surprised of what you can do with your resume to really make your skill sets stand out. And as we go through this, there's probably quite a few out there that have gotten some great advice from family and friends, and or you've created a one-dimensional type of resume, or your resume is just a huge conglomerate of words and stories and everything else. At the end of the day, it's not, you're not professional resume writers, and you don't need to be. You have to understand how the resume works when it goes through the application system, not only with humans but also with robots, and that's what we're going to work out. You know, many of you, there's resume templates, there's 34 million advice columns on resumes. You don't ever have to Google that again. You're going to have the information here today, and I look forward to sharing that with you. Let's take a look at some of these resumes, as I call them, resumes gone wild. I've tried to take a lot of the names off. These are real resumes that get sent. You know, this particular one here is just sloppy. It's got a LinkedIn profile, which is fine. You can always put your LinkedIn profile on the resume and so forth, but it just goes right into job history. I really don't know what this person does easily. So just keep that in your mind. Here's another resume. I highlighted just a horrible email address. You know, that's something that lots of lines and educations and all kinds of other things going on in this resume. But if I just looked at this resume, or if any of you, you can't tell me immediately what this person does for a living, and nor can a human that's looking at it, nor can a recruiter. Here's another resume. Um, this, and I'm not kidding. It's misspelled words. You know, misspelled words. This was taken right from an application, and you know, this just tells me, hey, I'm just, you know, you take pride. You're a bartender. Make your resume the best bartending resume you can possibly make, because that way you not only get a great bartending job, you get the best bartending job, and because you'll stand out if you send one that's really good. Here's another format resume we see a lot, lots of colors, lots of formatting, different grids all going on. You know, it looks pretty for sure, but is it the best way to get it across of what you're trying to do? And if you take a look at that, you know, it's again, it's not a bad resume. Lots of great education, things like that. But what does this person want to do? What are they applying to? What is the functionality of this resume? That profile picture at the very top is just extremely long as well. So here's another one, and I'm just taking you through this because a lot of you might have a resume that has cool words. Look at that objective at the top. It's creating successful track record, determination, leadership, goal oriented, problem solver, quick learner. They got so many cool words and wordsmiths in there, but those words mean nothing to a job person or a human resource person or a robot, because it says nothing about that person's skill set. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean about that. But take a really good look at that, because that's uh, common to just kind of copy paste off other people's resumes. It's not the way you want to go. This thing's just, as I say, this is just a hot mess. This resume has it all going on. It's got different color paper. It's got different font sizes. It's got all types of things. All this resume says is, "Don't hire me. Please don't hire me." And I bet you that this is an outstanding candidate. That's why when I see a bad resume, I don't. I personally will still call the person if, because I can decipher it. But if an HR person or a robot can't decipher your resume quickly, and they have a bunch of other resumes to go through, just like they do today, because application rates are way up, you have to stand out because they don't want to decipher. So keep that in the back of your mind. 6 seconds. That's all it takes anybody to make a decision whether or not they want to bring you in for an interview. And so if you have 6 seconds, what can you do with those 6 seconds? And that's what we're really going to talk about today. And when you see the resume makeover, it'll all make sense to you. So just follow along. So in the 2020 resume, the 2020 resume is has to be optimized, and that just requires three things: a clear title, your core competencies or skill sets or whatever you want to call those, and then your examples of your greatness. And the examples that you're going to use are going to be relevant to the jobs that you apply to. And I'll talk about that in a second. When you are writing your resume needs to be written to the jobs that you're applying to. The job that you find online that you're going to apply to, and this is an administrative sales support documents verification person, is your resume DNA. If the keywords in this job description don't match up with what you do for a living, you shouldn't even apply to this job. If you read this job description and say, hey, I do that, but on my resume, I call it something else, change it to what it is here. And let me give you some examples. Here's the keywords that are in this resume: sales support, bookkeeping, administration, accounts receivable, mailing, filing, accuracy. The title of the job is also a keyword: sales support administration. And when we do our resume remake with another person, you'll even get, this will keep up. I'm going to keep putting this into your brains, because this is the key to a great resume, knowing what jobs that you're applying to, that it's a match. So here's Bob Davis, right? This is the resume. If Bob Davis was applying to the job that we just showed you, his title would be administrative and sales support. It would talk a little bit about what he did, but then his core competencies are going to be all those things that we just talked about: the sales support, bookkeeping. And where do we get all those things? We got those all from the job description, but we put them in a beautiful way at the very top of the resume, so they can see exactly what that looks like. And a robot can read it, a human resource person can read it, and they don't have to identify or think about what you do for a living. You're an administrative and sales support person, and you have every single or most of the skill sets that they have listed in the job order. And then it's followed up with your career progression, as a sales support specialist, all the different things there. Here's something, I don't have it written down here, but take this into consideration as well. At Bon Travel, a sales support specialist, right, is the title of that job that was there. But what if he was a administrative specialist at Bon Travel, but did exactly what this job did? Is he able to change his job title on a resume to the position that he's applying for? And the answer to that question is 100% absolutely yes. As long as you do the job title, if the closer can be to the job that you're applying to, the more likely it will be that you get the job interview, as long as you have the skill sets that are required. If you ever find yourself making up skill sets that you don't have, apply to different jobs. And people do that all the time. And I'll show you that in here in a little bit too. But that's really important stuff. And I'm going to get much more clear on this, on this stuff here shortly. So are you ready to do the extreme resume makeover? I feel we should do a TV show too on this, because it's the piece of paper that you submit into a company is so important, but it doesn't give you the opportunity to show who you are as a person. That's why I like live job fairs, because you can walk up to a employer without them knowing anything about you and immediately develop a relationship, because they like the way you look, the way that you talk, and so forth. The employers typically saying, boy, I hope they have the skill set. When you submit a resume and it's the opposite, you have to have all the skill sets first before they even talk to you. So but that's why we're going to solve that a little bit. So here's my candidate. We're going to redo Sandra Gill's resume, and let's take a little bit of time, just read through it real quick. But she's at in it, she's out of Atlanta, an okay email address, career objective, lots of lines going on, a full address. In today's world, you don't want to put your full address. You just want to put Atlanta, Georgia. That's it. And so forth. They have a career objective, and then she has her professional experience at the American Cancer Society, and she's got 20 years of experience. And she's done, virtually 7 different things while she's been there, or whatever the case might be. IT, supply chain, you get all that. I'm showing you this resume because this is a perfect example of a resume that she probably thinks was pretty good. And this resume would get sent into every single job the same exact way. What she doesn't recognize is this resume can be 10 times better, as can your resume. And it has to be better if you want to get interviews. Resumes are your license to an interview. They're not legally binding documents, they're licenses to interviews. And when you have a lot of different skill sets like Sandra does, there's no job out there that's going to have all those skills needed at the same time. So the jobs that you apply to, you have to decide what skill that's going to be. So let's go back and build your resume around the job posting. So I asked her to send me a job that you've applied to recently that you're qualified for. And here's the rest of her resume too, her education, all that stuff. We'll get to that in a little bit. But send me a job that you have qualified for, and I'm going to go through that job with you, and then we're going to build your resume based on your experience in that job. Just to back up for 1 second, in the career objective, notice highly motivated, customer service, problem solving, analytical, interpersonal skills. When you work and you are successful at your job, you already have all those things. You don't have to write them down. They're for granted, but it's a very common thing. And it's not bad. Trust me, it's not bad. It's just you're taking up a lot of space that doesn't need to be taken up on a resume. So anyway, let's find the job. So we went out and she sent me this job, or I'm getting ahead of myself here, but the job that she found was at Kennesaw State University, and it was program IT management office, and it's up in the Atlanta area and so forth. So what I do is this is a test question. Number 3, find X. Here it is. That's what this is. Find X. The X in a job description is literally the keywords that you want to put in your resume that you have that will match what they're looking for. Nowhere in this job description will you find all the other things that she did, training and all that other stuff. But what you will find is her IT background, managing large IT programs, Microsoft Office Suite, Team Dynamics, project management professional, IT project management. You can keep going on and on, updating stakeholders, conduct continual risk assessments. You can take any job out there and find the keywords in those jobs to what you've done, and then you can start building your core competencies based on those jobs. So that's what we started to do. And to start, the Brave of font is the best, the 11 point. That's the one you should always be using. Times New Roman is, you're saying you're still living in 1990 when you use that font. The top 1/3 of the resume is the most important thing. The keywords are king, and your experience is keywords. So here's what we came up with, and I call it a Picasso, an absolute Picasso. And we don't send that picture, but that's pretty cool there. But so if we go to the top of the resume, this is what we did. We refunctioned the entire thing. So now her name is up there, Atlanta, Georgia. We changed her email address to Gmail because Comcast or AOL or I don't even Netscape. I don't even know what the old email addresses are anymore. But the most in IT, most people use Gmail. I know it sounds really silly, but if you don't have a good email address for your job search, make sure you get one. Everything plays a part, even if it's a little part. Then we put a nice 2-sentence thing about what she does. Proactive and articulate IT professional offering more than 20 years in project management. This is speaking right to that job description. On time, collaboration, creativity, shared ownership across the enterprise. All those things were stated one way or another in that job description. And then the core competencies are almost exact, almost exact. Agile, which is a huge project management system, waterfall, strategic planning, process improvement, Microsoft Suite, we saw that was in there, multi-project tacking, they made a big deal in that job description about stakeholder communication. So, when I asked her, I said, hey, do you talk to the stake? Yeah, I had to keep everybody, the board, 100% involved in everything that we were doing. Then we drop down and we look at her career progression, and it's senior consultant IT business relationship management, and it's completely built up for that job, and that's it. You don't see 7 other positions there. You don't see anything. Every single thing, every dot there talks about, not verbatim, you don't copy paste from the job description, but what you do is you reforecast or reappropriate the way you want to write it in your resume, and it comes out really. You'd be surprised if you use that job description as your guide of, oh yeah, I did that. I led project teams from final scope to final completion. It doesn't say it that way in there, but that is a great way to say it, as well as got all the keywords in there. So you can read through all that stuff, but this thing's just beautiful. I mean, this is beautiful. If you just looked, if this is all that came off, if this is all that hiring person saw, they didn't see your education, they didn't see any other part of your resume, they would already have an interest in you. There's absolutely no question about it. And if they didn't, or if a robot didn't, then the job would have been either closed or they already had somebody in mind for it. They have to talk to this person. And I hope that's clear. It's absolutely beautiful. So the rest of her other things, the American Cancer Society positions, the progressions of the other jobs that she had, I still listen them because I think they're relevant. But I tried to find one thing in each of those jobs that might relate back to the job that she's going to. And a lot of it was in planning, in tracking, and things like that. So there was some stuff. And then your education, your certifications, your technology, getting all your whatever kind of education or anything that you have. Awards is another big one that people leave out. If you've ever had awards at your at any of your organizations, those are also very awesome to put there. But I think you guys can kind of see the before and the after, right? The before, I have no idea what that person does or wants to do. You know, do they want to be supply chain lead? Do they what's Relay for Life? I mean, if you don't know American Cancer Society, you don't know what that is. Are they a senior consultant? What is it? If you look at the after, you can see it very clear. If you're a lifeguard, if you're an administrative assistant, if you're a graphic designer, if you're a electrical engineer, if you're a executive salesperson, your resume is exactly the same way. You just fill it in to the job that you're applying to. And man, I'll tell you, you will be shocked at the response that you get. 80% of the resumes that I see are not optimized. And it's not the fault of the job seeker. Trust me, I get that. You guys aren't professional resumes writers, but this is very important information that you really have to, uh, especially if you're struggling, and get some help. And I'll give you my contact information at the end too. If you ever want to send me your resume, I'll take a look at it for you as well, and so forth. If you use Word, if you have the latest version of Word, Microsoft and LinkedIn, they bought each other, or Microsoft bought LinkedIn, and they've actually created a pretty cool product. I just want to bring this up to you because a lot of times people have a hard time wordsmithing certain things in their backgrounds. But what this tool allows you to do is it allows you to it'll search LinkedIn for people just like you and bring up ideas of different ways to write bullet points, basically. This is for a third-party risk manager, but it will go out and it'll look over hundreds of thousands of LinkedIn profiles and bring you back some very good ideas so you can make your resume stand out. I always tell people just be careful because if they're wordsmithing, meaning they're hardworking and all this other stuff, but a lot of times you get the the exact type of information that you want to put. For instance, collaborate and coordinate with the business unit leaders and stakeholders to provide effective oversight and risk management of vendor relationships and performance standards and expectation. I mean, that's if that's what's on that job description and you didn't know how to write it a different way, that's what that's all about. So that's a cool tool. Just keep that in the back of your mind. Here's the things that drive me crazy, and I hope it drives you guys crazy too. But for those of you who put no address, no city, or anything like that, it's you're doing yourself a disservice. Put a city and a state. If a no city is almost uh, it's a pass usually because they don't want to guess where you live. They don't want to spend the time calling you to find out you're in California somewhere and so forth. Highlighting text, people will still highlight what they think is important in their resume. That's why you need a optimized resume because never highlight. It should just jump off the page. Two, I get this question, so I just want to get it out of the way. Is a two-page resume okay? A three-page resume is okay. That's not the point. The point is what is in that first uh, half of the first page of the resume to the job that you're applying to. And if you need 3 pages to tell your story, go ahead and do it. That's fine. I find 2 page resumes are pretty much standard anymore because you do have a lot of great information if you've been in the workforce for a while and so forth. Um, References on the resume. Anybody who puts a reference on the resume, hey, call Jim over at this place. That's a waste of time. You don't even have to put resumes. If an employer wants a reference, they'll call you and say, hey, I need a reference. You don't even have to tell them. You don't have to say, hey, I've got references. Of course you got references. You have cell numbers. When you save your resume file, save it as a PDF and save it as a keyword. It makes a difference. It makes it easier for an HR person, especially to find it sometimes, but it's also another way a computer can find it. Sandra Girls, IT project manager, resume 2020. It's a beautiful thing, beautiful. And don't add your picture. It's not cool. We did a big survey. 97% of HR people still think pictures on resumes are not cool, but they do. As soon as they like you, they do look at your LinkedIn profile and and so forth. Um, let's see what we're doing. We're 2:30. Okay, so this is downtown Orlando. Gosh, I love this scene because we haven't seen this scene in so long. But I use this picture because I look at all those individuals and everybody there is a key word now. Everybody there has a resume, but which ones of their resumes are optimized? They're all keywords and of what their skill sets are. And that's how robots and humans view you when you're just sending in a piece of paper with digits on it, right? And you really have to understand that in the application process when you submit your information into a thing. What do they have to base it on? They can't see you, they can't talk to you, they can't do anything. They're just basing it on, hey, what do you have on this piece of paper? Okay, if that's the case, then uh, I'm going to bring you in for an interview. Some of the best candidates for jobs never get the interview because their resumes are not optimized, and that's sad. Humans can overcome it. Computers don't have feelings. Just remember that. If computers can't figure it out, you'll never get a call. And so forth. If you don't believe me, here's Frankenstein. This is a fake resume. Every year, Career Crossroads, they stop doing it because it's the same every year. But they send out a fake resume with lots of keywords to the Fortune 500 companies. At the bottom of the resume, they say, "Hey, this is Career Crossroads. We are a mystery job seeker. We just want to see what you're going to do with this resume." This guy, they're from Mockingbird Lane. They do, the professional. Hey, I took 6 months off as was made six opportunity. All the things that you would never. The True Blood, Dracula. I was impressed they got True Blood into this stuff. But look at this resume sent to 500. Guess what happened? They received 238 responses, 18 companies requested an interview, 2 companies noticed it was fake, and from previous years, it took less time to actually apply because the application process itself sucks. And when you're going through, you get redirected. You have to create a new account. You put it in. You upload your resume. So many things can go wrong, especially if you do it on your cell phone and all this other stuff, and your resumes never make it to the end anyway, even if they're optimized. So it's really interesting, but optimized resumes are the are key.